saying that he made it up.
Does it match up to other species of birds?
Other birds have that kind of feature. Yes, I think if I remember right, the bald eagle, it's on its beak, it's more of kind of a smooth strip of skin, kind of like what you see on like literally your cuticles.
Right.
Whereas if you look at some parrots, it's kind of a bulbous growth.
Mm-hmm.
Or what is it? Chickens have it on the wattles and stuff. It's kind of bulbous and fleshy. The way he described it, it was more of that bulbous growth rather than just flat.
He only saw that one specimen really close up, so maybe that bird had an infection.
Well, but he did see them close up because that's how he knew that they nested on the ground, is that at one point he observed a mated pair with chicks. So he saw them from not too far of a distance
So
away.
he didn't kill the last one.
I think he saw those ones. He came back with his rifle the next day. The weather was so bad and they were gone, so eventually he had to get the one he got in Kentucky.
So, but we can say, if they were real.
If they were real, he probably didn't kill the last one.
Right, because they were chicks.
Yeah, right on. Good.
Good.
Okay, we have our final theory.
Okay.
Which is the Thunderbird.
Oh,
Yep, exactly. I mean, hey, the Thunderbird is considered a cryptid, but what the heck? Let's talk about it.
I mean, why not?
Yeah. For those of you who don't know what the Thunderbird is, according to the internet, it is, and I quote, a legendary creature in certain North American. It is considered a supernatural being of power and strength. It is especially important and frequently depicted in the art, songs, and oral histories of many Native American tribes, from the Pacific Northwest to the East Coast to the Great Lakes and the Great Plains. So all over the continent is what that's saying. End quote was somewhere in there. So in contemporary American accounts, the Thunderbird is described as being more of a bat-like or pterodactyl-like creature. But if we strip away that great late 1800s, early 1900s reporting that is out there, and instead we think about the Washington's eagle, this might be the answer, because the Thunderbird was rarely seen. It wasn't around all the time. It was really big, and it scared the crap out of people when it showed up.
well, something big enough to carry you away. Probably should.
Yeah.
Or it looked like it could be big. I mean, you see something with a 10-foot wingspan coming swooping down and you're in your canoe?
Yeah.
I would be scared.
Yeah.
I would
Me too.
probably put a little lake water in the canoe.
Yeah.
Definitely want to at least grab the kids and make sure they don't get carried away.
Yeah, I mean, this is the kind of bird that in prehistory would have been able to take away small children.
Well, my understanding is was it Australia, New Zealand? They had an enormous eagle down there that was makes this thing look like a little runt. I mean, you know the one I'm talking about. I can't remember what it was called, but it was freaking huge.
Was this in recent history or in prehistory?
Kind of prehistory.
Okay, because I've read a lot about different birds, so I can't keep them all straight.
No, I know, but anyway, it's definitely would be frightening.
Yeah, so it's possible that these birds were what the native cultures refer to as the Thunderbird, and indeed the species was already dwindling. And I like this because this links up a historical record of something and then the cultural record of something.
I agree.
I really enjoy that. You do find, now here's the problem with the Thunderbird, and this always comes up when you look at something that is considered a cryptid, is in contemporary today, in the last 50 to 100 years, in the descriptions of the Thunderbird that you see, they feel a little outlandish to me, because there's the whole pterodactyl angle, but then there's people who say, I saw this giant eagle show up and it flew away with a small deer in its talons, and when it was standing, it must have been 10 feet tall.
Yeah.
Okay, that to me sounds too fantastic. And these are always in very far-flung rural places, the middle of nowhere, Alaska, or...
All of it. Did you mean all of it? Sorry.
or
Sorry,
places
Alaska.
in the middle of the Great Lakes regions and in Canada and stuff like that. Like these sparsely inhabited places. But like, I saw this giant bird, and I know the birds in this area.
But as we look at this and say, you know, whenever Audubon was cataloging these was kind of the end of the accepted time when they existed, right?
Yeah.
I think I'm willing to say probably this bird.
He was at the tail end of the species.
Yeah, exactly. They, you know, those hatchlings may have been the very last hatchlings ever. So that discards all of the crazy stuff that's really more contemporary of our time, and I don't buy it. I don't know. I mean, I like you like that, you know, full circle kind of. There are a lot of reports, not a lot, but there's historic context for a large bird of the same description of the one that Audubon had. The only thing that I'll come back to, though, is the lack of any kind of fossil records or
you would think there would be some of that,
or anything.
Yeah, the difficulty. I am by no means an expert on this stuff, but the one thing that I do know about bird bones is that the majority of them tend to be hollow.
They are
so
hollow.
They don't preserve as well as a solid, dense bone that you and I have.
True.
Which I think probably impedes the ability to find them as readily. It's just like snakes sometimes are super hard to find because they're made of cartilage.
Yeah, readily being the operative word there. I mean, you would expect that if these things existed, somebody would have found one once, you know. But maybe they did, and they just didn't know what it was.
Maybe they did, and they've named it something else, and nobody has connected. I mean, the dot didn't get connected. I didn't look through and try and find these random bird skeletons because I don't know how to do that.
Yeah, it might be. It might just be a fluke too that the ones that have been found by not by experts or people who are really looking for them. They just said, "Oh, it's a bird carcass," you know, and they just walked on.
Yeah.
Just some bird carcass, because obviously it'd be kind of scattered anyway by predators or scavengers.
Or they were mistaken for bald eagles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the difficulty. You can't get a sense as readily or as easily of the wingspan of a bird once it's dead.
Yeah.
And there's just a skeleton left.
Yeah.
Because the feathers have gone.
Yeah.
And that is one of the things that helps them achieve that giant wingspan is
Agreed,
that if they have feathers that are 6 inches long versus feathers that are, 15 inches long, that adds a significant that's for loft and power and flight.
Yeah.
So it's tough.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and frankly, not everybody sees a rotting bird carcass laying around. It's going to pick it up and spread the wings out to check out the wingspan.
No.
And there's always that too.
Yeah, that's a little weird.
Said, it's sort of a rotted, shriveled.
Devin, I think were you talking more of like old bones that are around, not a new carcass, but
preserved bones? Because I'm just assuming that later than 1900 there haven't been these things. They haven't existed.
Yeah.
That's my assumption at least.
Yeah. Probably not.
Joe, I mean, what's your thoughts on it, Joe?
I still like the idea. I don't like the idea that they were real and they're extinct.
Do you like that they were real, not that they went extinct?
Yeah, I like that they were real, but it's too bad they went extinct. It's a shame.
Yeah.
But seriously, species, they were kind of on the brink anyway, and then people were moving into the Great Lakes area, which is apparently their stomping grounds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
People were, definitely.
They're flapping grounds.
Oh, good one. Yeah. So it's not at all outside the realm of possibility, I think.
Yeah, I mean, there would have been. by that time, there's a significant amount of river traffic. Mm-hmm. That's gonna. If you think about it, if they primarily hunt in the lakes and the rivers and the streams, that's going to cause a problem.
Yeah,
so you can see how this could very easily be a small disruption that could echo through. I'm in agreement. I think we're all in agreement here. I would prefer to think that they were real and that they went extinct, and that possibly they were in the historical record through Native American culture. Yeah. Although I still have a little niggling in the back of my brain because of the prank that Audubon pulled and jerking Constantine's leg. So.
Yeah.
But it's one thing to destroy his credibility. But pulling a little prank on him and destroying your own is a different thing.
It's true.
Putting him in your, I don't think, did he put any of those ones that he made up for Constantine? Did he put in any of his
publications?
No. Yeah.
Oh no.
So It's a step further than that, you know.
But it's also, that's 15, 20 years later.
Yeah, that's true.
You get desperate. People do funny things when they're desperate. I mean, speaking of things that were done out of desperation, and this is a terrible fact, so all of these plates that Audubon had for all of the birds that are in the book,
Wow.
after he passed away, he had Alzheimer's or dementia, and he passed away, and his wife was desperate for money, and she started selling those plates for scrap metal just to get money. So I think it's in the low 100s of them still exist. The remainder of them, she needed money, and so she sold them, and they were melted down.
Sad.
Yeah, it's one of those things in history. You're like, oh.
Well, plus those the Birds of America books. I mean, I'm sure a lot of those were cut up just to frame and hang on the wall. And some of those paintings and stuff. So I mean, maybe 50 exist still.
I don't
copies?
know the number, to be honest with you, Joe.
Yeah, it's not a very high number.
All I know is that when I went to the Rare Book Room and I asked about it, I was told that, oh yeah, you can look at the books of the writings, but if you want to look at the actual book, you're going to need to make an appointment, which means I would have to meet with somebody, probably go through a little lesson of what to do, and then put on the white gloves.
Oh, yeah.
To even be allowed to touch it.
And even then, hopefully they would watch you like a hawk.
Oh yeah, good one.
I know, thank you.
No, they believe me, the gal that Phoebe at the library, she was not but 5 or 8 feet away the entire time that I was looking through the book I was reading. So. Yeah, they're definitely valuable. So it's sad that those things are gone like that.
It's sad, but and it's not at all unknown for people to cut pages out of books, especially like maps and plates and stuff like that. It's not at all unknown.
Yep. And sadly, they weren't always framed. They a lot of times were just hung.
Yeah.
Which makes them degrade even faster. But we are way off of that. I think we've finished up with the story here. Now we're complaining about what a bunch of bad preservationists we all are.
Yeah.
Instead, let's talk about the great things that I know everybody listens to this podcast for, which is the things we talk about at the very end.
Oh yeah,
like
housekeeping.
Yeah, like our website, because we have a website where we're going to have the links to this story as well as every story that we've talked about before. That website is thinkingsidewayspodcast.com. You can find the show just about anywhere. So if you use iTunes, you can subscribe and review and leave a rating. If you're using any of the other streaming platforms, whether that be Stitcher or Google Play or any of the other various ones that are out there, do subscribe. If you're able to review on there, please do. We appreciate that. That's how other people find us. We're on social media, so we have a subreddit. We have the Twitter account. The Twitter account is Thinkin' Sideways, where Devin puts out funny stories and pictures and screen caps our text message conversations.
Yeah.
And we also have the Facebook page and the Facebook group. The page is where you can read some of the fun stuff we find on the internet. The group is where you're going to get a chance to actually go in and have discussions about episodes with other listeners.
Yeah.
Last, we have merchandise, or next, I should say. We have merchandise. That is also on the website. So shirts, stickers, mugs, all those good things. There's links for those in the right-hand panel. And the last thing that I was going to talk about is emails. So you are able to send us an email if you have a story suggestion, you have a question, you want to talk about an episode, whatever the case may be. That email address is thinkingsidewayspodcast@gmail.com.
So yeah, send us a message. Fan mail. We like fan mail.
Yeah.
Especially me. But yeah.
I totally thought he was going to say feather mail. And I was really expecting another bird pun in there.
No bird puns for me, sorry.
Okay. Well, that is all that I have so far and for this episode. So I guess if that's all we've got, the birds of a feather doesn't work in this one. We will talk to you guys next week.
Time to fly on out of here.
No bird puns for me. Bye, everybody.
Caw-caw! Caw-caw!
What is that, the Western Steve? This episode of Thinking Sideways is not brought to you by 2-year-olds with chainsaws. Instead, it's brought to you by a TV show about 2-year-olds with chainsaws. Just kidding. Hulu just released a new original, The Looming Tower, based on the Pulitzer Prize-winning book by Lawrence Wright. This limited series traces the rising threat of Osama bin Laden and how the rivalry between the FBI and CIA may have set a path for the tragedy of 9/11. The Looming Tower is available now, only on Hulu. Also brought to you by Breach, a new podcast. A podcast team started looking into the biggest hack in history and ended up in the middle of the story. A mysterious voicemail, disappearing files, it got personal. Breach is a new podcast that takes you inside the world's biggest hacks. They set out to answer questions about hacks of a huge American company and found themselves investigating a Russian conspiracy. Subscribe to Breach, that's BREACH, in your podcast app now.
Hey there, and welcome to another episode of Thinking Sideways. I'm Joe, joined as always by
Steve
and
Devin?
And it's time for another mystery.
Yay!
Yeah, this week we're going to talk about a good one. This involves the Nellis Air Force Testing Range in Area 51 and all kinds of cool stuff.
It's pretty cool.
So yeah, let's jump right in. We're going to talk about the very strange disappearance of a guy named Kenny Beach in the mountains just east of the Air Force Range that I just mentioned. Mm-hmm. This happened in late 2014. So that means that we are kind of breaking our 5-year rule just a little bit.
It's just barely out there.
Yeah, it's less than a year away. But I've been following this story for 2 or 3 years now, and there's been no movement on it at all. So I think we're probably safe.
And for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, we have a rule where we won't cover a case that is
less than 5 years old.
Well, that hasn't been active for less than 5 years, right?
Yeah.
So, people say like, whoa, who Banksy is.
Yeah.
That's, 20 years old. No, it's not, because Banksy's still a thing, right? Mm-hmm. But sometimes we will break our rule for things like that.
Oh, yeah, we will. So,
usually it's pretty close to the margin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and I think people need to know about this story.
Agreed.
We need to find Kenny.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we've got some Las Vegas listeners who are going to
You
hear
killed
this.
Kenny!
No.
Well, somebody naturally...
That's the only time we're making the joke, right? Okay, good.
Actually, of course,
You
naturally,
bastards!
in some comment sections out there on the web, some people have made that comment.
How
oh
could
my
you
God!
not?
I know. Okay, but back to Kenny here. Oh, I wanted to give a shout out real quick, to our listener Jacob, who suggested this story a while back. Thanks, Jacob. Here's where some people put the starting point of our story, which would be December 3rd, 2013. A YouTuber called Serious Disclosure, which posts a lot of UFO-y kind of stuff.
Paranormal, extraterrestrial stuff.
Yeah. They posted a video that day called Son of an Area 51 Technician, which is an interview of a guy named Paul H. Utes, whose father worked on secret government projects out there around and near Area 51.
At least that's the claim.
That's what he says, yeah. A lot of his work took place in the Nellis Air Force Range near where our mystery takes place, just a hop, skip, jump away. And you may have heard of this. It takes up an enormous chunk of southern Nevada, northwest of Las Vegas, and it includes, of course, Area 51.
Didn't we talk about this at one point, that Utah is
basically
75% owned by the Air Force? It's some absurd percentage of Utah is owned by the military.
The western United States, an absurd amount of it is owned by the federal government.
But Utah particularly.
But Utah, or are you talking Nevada?
Utah and Nevada, both.
I'm sure, but Nevada.
Mostly Nevada is what you're getting.
The Four Corners area.
There's a ton of that. But especially Nevada really got the brunt of it for things like Area 51 and also nuclear testing. A lot of nukes got
Nothing like a
Nevada.
big, beautiful, empty desert to do your covert operation
and white
testing.
sands, which is beautiful but also terrifying.
Probably radioactive as hell.
So radioactive,
Yeah. Oh, but back to our video. This Paul Utes guy said that his father got drunk one time. They were in Germany at some sort of beer garden sort of thing.
Is it Utes or Utz?
I think it's Utes.
Because it's spelled the way that Utz potatoes is spelled.
I thought they pronounced it Utes.
That's fine. Utz is probably the mispronunciation.
Or it could have been Utes. I don't remember.
So they're at Oktoberfest.
Yeah, and his dad starts talking about some of his secret stuff that he'd been working on for all these years. And he talked about this one thing. Apparently, mostly what he was doing, there was he was being handed alien technology, and they expected to kind of reverse engineer it.
That's what he said.
That's what he said, yeah. And so one of the biggest project he worked on was this thing where they were trying to essentially create a whole new kind of energy source. And they had this project that was going, and it had a lot of organic components to it. And it never wound up working in the end. But his dad told him that this thing, almost when it was like all put